Thanks, Laura. That was like to the second perfect on time. Can we have Zoe Zhang next up?
Hi everyone, my name is Zoe. I am a Master of Nutrition and Dietetics student at the University of Sydney, and my research looked at nutrition quality of people living with Prader-Willi syndrome in Australia. Before I start, I'd like to acknowledge and thank the people on the screen. Yep, as well as the participants of the study and their families. So on background, literature has shown that there's a high prevalence of overweight and obesity in people with Prader-Willi syndrome, and that increases the risk of chronic health conditions. And in children and adolescents, the prevalence has been around 40%, and this more than doubles in adults to more than 80%. So primary management are restrictive, low-energy diets, but with low-energy diets, there are risks of nutrient deficiencies, and past research in other countries have found that individuals were at risk of calcium, fibre, vitamin D, and potassium deficiencies. So this is the first research in Australia on diets of people with Prader-Willi syndrome in Australia. So the aim of the study was to describe the dietary intake and quality of adolescents and adults with Prader-Willi syndrome in Australia. So this was a cross-sectional study with a sample size totaling 44 people, and it was a sub-study of a larger randomized control trial looking at progressive resistance exercise training in young people with Prader-Willi syndrome. So data was collected via the Australian Eating Survey from parents and carers, which is a validated food frequency questionnaire. And diet quality was measured using the Australian Recommended Food Score, which is a validated dietary index based on diet variety. So outcomes included dietary intake, energy, macronutrient intake, as well as diet quality and weight status. So our key findings showed that generally diets showed a good adherence to Australian dietary guidelines, with the majority meeting recommendations for 3 out of the 5 food groups. So that's vegetables, fruits, and lean meats and alternatives. And they generally showed a higher diet quality than the general Australian population, especially in terms of vegetable and fruit intake. So most also met the essential nutrient recommendations, except they exceeded for saturated fat and sodium, which most likely might have come from discretionary food, as majority did exceed recommended discretionary food intake. There were also many who were at risk of calcium deficiency, with only a third meeting their dairy recommendations, which may be due to energy restrictions. Still, there was a high prevalence of overweight and obesity in the participant sample, with 6 in 10 adolescents and 8 in 10 adults above the healthy weight range according to BMI, and on average they exceeded the recommended energy intakes by around 85 to 90%. Oh, sorry. So therefore, it's recommended that Prader-Willi syndrome appropriate energy-restricted diets, which include low-fat, calcium-rich foods, are recommended to optimize health. Thank you.